I'm good.
Mosh, I'm hitting the button.
Hit the button.
I'm hitting the button. It's time for Raiders Fan Radio, Mosh.
What am I doing?
Wave at the YouTubes.
Hey.
Hey, YouTube.
Hey, YouTubes.
All right, here we go.
Raiders! Oakland, LA, Oakland, Vegas, Raider Nation, wherever, forever. You got your old Uncle Mosh and Raiders Fan Radio from Murf's Man Cave, taking a lighter journey into the dark side. Sit back, put your feet up, pop a top, and enjoy the ride. Here we go!
Look left, look right, Bolitnikov, a leaking pass, touchdown!
We miss you, we love you, and we'll see you in the Hall of Fame.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players, you have a great organization, and you tell them one thing, just win, baby.
Way up the middle, intercepted Filipiano at the 50, time running down, Oakland football, and I think Oakland victory.
The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most zany, unbelievable, absolutely impossible dream of a play. Well, I love this team. I think this team can win. I think this team can win.
What is up, Raider Nation? Your old buddy Murf back once again for another what we hope to be fantastic episode of Raiders Fan Radio. Don't mind my uncle. He's over there plugging things in, turning knobs, and doing his sound check on the fly because
I'm an idiot.
Well, you know, 7:15 comes fast, Mosh, and you know, and when 7:15 hits, it's time to hit the button. So, anyways, welcome to another episode of Raiders Fan Radio. This is episode number 116 of Raiders Fan Radio, and thank you all so much for joining us here for another great episode. Thank you for everybody that's joining us live in the chat. I see Juan Espani in there, Chris Potts, Chevy Raider, Adamisk, Sculling, Kevin the Raider Nerd, James, Mojo, Alex Rodriguez, Herman Munster. Thank you all so much for joining us. Ron, what's up, Ron? And thank you for joining us for episode number 116 of Raiders Fan Radio. So much to get to tonight, and you know I can't get to it by myself. So let's welcome in to the southern annex of the Murph Fan Cave desk as he evacuates his spit into his Powerade cup, the one and only Uncle Mosh. What's up, Uncle Mosh?
Man, I'm so glad to be here. We're running around. We're crazy. You know, we started our prep 2.5, 3 hours ago.
I was going to say minutes, but yeah.
And we were like, no, but I mean, we were like all like, you know, oh no, we're good.
got
We were
time.
calm. We were
Yeah.
playing around and stuff. And next thing you know, we're like, 30 seconds till air. Go. I'm in the bathroom. You know, I'm like, what, 30 seconds? No, I got to go, man.
It gets up on you quick, Mosh.
Yeah.
It sure does.
I think it's age.
Hey, hey, don't forget to look down the barrel of your camera. Say hi to Raider Nation.
Hey, Raider Nation. You know, if it's so funny. If I'd move the camera, it'd make it a little easier. But we don't do anything easy.
No, we don't have a producer, so we got to do
No.
all this stuff by ourselves. And so, anyways, thanks again for joining us. Real quick, I see a couple of questions down there already. First off, welcome Jesse Raider, new to the show. Appreciate the compliment, of course. And asking about T-shirts. I promise, I swear, I feel like I say this every week. I promise you we have new T-shirts on the way. Uncle Mosh and I finally finalized our design.
We did.
We finally finalized what we're going to do, and we're going to get with this T-shirt guy, and that's coming very, like, we're going to order T-shirt, kind of run down like this. We're going to do some contact info, as you know, and then we're going to talk about number 116, the significance of that number. We're going to talk about the Raiders playing baseball once again. We're going to talk about John Gruden and Mike Mayock and their approaches to free agency. A very famous referee has retired. We're going to talk about one particular two-time Super Bowl winning head coach and his involvement with the Hall of Fame or lack thereof. We're going to give you a draft update. We got an awesome interview. One of the best interviews that we've ever done, if I don't mind saying so. And then, of course, our favorite part of the show, which is your phone calls, your emails, and then we're going to wrap it up with the Raiders in pop culture. So before we get going, Please subscribe and support Raiders Fan Radio by subscribing to Raiders Fan Radio, always giving us the proverbial thumbs up, whether that be on audio podcast or video podcast. For those of you that are already in the chat, you know this. For those of you listening, a great way to participate in the show is to join us live. We try to go 6, 7 o'clock Eastern on Wednesdays. And you can find us at youtube.com/Murf's Fan Cave. You can subscribe to us. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the bell, as they say, smash that bell, and then you'll never miss an episode and join in with the awesome community of Raiders fans that join us every Wednesday for the live broadcast. For those of you audio-wise, you can find us on any podcast service like Apple, Stitcher, whatever, and there's an app. You can find us if you're an Android user. You can find the Raiders Fan Radio app. Just search for Murf's Fan Cave, and you'll find us anywhere, and you can find that app that way. All right, Uncle Mosh, you got our contact information there?
I do.
As he knocks over his...
All right, boys and girls, pay attention. You got your old Uncle Mosh here with an update. That's right. I got some stuff for you. Take out a piece of paper, a pencil, a pen. Heck, use your pocket knife and carve the info into your dashboard as you're driving down the highway. First off, you need to like us on our fan page on Facebook. That's right. Go to Facebook at Raiders Fan Radio Podcast. Don't forget about the Twitter. You know your old Uncle Mosh, he twits now. That's right. Go to at Raiders Fan Radio. Also, don't forget the Instagram at Raiders Fan Radio. Or what about our website? That's right, RaidersFanRadio.com. Heck, if you want to, you can even email us, show@RaidersFanRadio.com, or call us on the Raiders Fan Radio hotline, 909-345-3346. That's 909-345-3346. Don't forget Murf's Fan Cave on the YouTube, where you can get all the show links like the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Find all our stuff on podcast providers like Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play. All right, did I hit the time limit? Good.
Gosh, guys, I apologize for all this buffering that's been going on with the show here lately. I'm not sure what's going on. We got fiber into the house. We don't typically have any internet issues, so I'm not sure what the deal is with the buffering here lately.
It's fiber.
I don't know what it is. We tried to blame it on the weather last week, and that didn't work.
So I got to school and I was telling some of my tech kids, I'm like, "Yeah, man, the weather killed us," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "The weather, man, the weather. It messed with our YouTube," and they're like, no.
They're
like, what do you mean? And they're like, weather doesn't have anything to do with it. We weren't near as cold as 90% of the nation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like,
I don't know what the deal is, man. We got, like I said, we have all the internets. We have all the internets coming into the house here, and so I'm not sure what goes on there. But anyway, so we'll just we'll do the best we can with it. So I apologize to you all that when it buffers and hitches on you there. I'm not sure what to do on that. I guess I need to call AT&T or something. But anyway, we'll figure it out. So thank you for joining us. And first off on our show, we like to give respect. We don't do shouts. We don't do props. We don't do things like that. Nothing like there's anything wrong with those, but we choose to give respect. And so a couple of guys, actually 3 people we want to give respect to this week. First and foremost, I want to give respect to Micah and Tyler, Uncle Mosh. They are from the Behind the Eye Patch podcast. And I had a chance to sit down with those guys virtually and join them on their podcast, the Behind the Eye Patch podcast. It was a lot of fun, man. Those guys are great. They do a great job, and it was a lot of fun getting on there and hooting and hollering and talking about the Raiders. So appreciate the invite from Micah and Tyler, and definitely support what they're doing out there. You know, as our buddies over at the Pillaging podcast say, a rising tide raises all pirate ships, man. There is plenty of Raiders podcasts to go around, so definitely support everyone out there that's doing a great job with the Raiders podcasting, and especially to those 2 guys, to Micah and Tyler. Great job with your show, and thank you for the invite to. And we're going to return the favor and have you. We're going to extend the plank to our pirate ship and have you guys join us here probably this spring. One more I want to give respect to, Mosh, is that this last Sunday, we did a Super Bowl special for those of you that missed it. Mosh and I sat down, and all we did was relive the glories of the silver and black in the Super Bowl. We didn't talk about today or the Super Bowl, the most recent one. All we did was talk about past Raiders victories in the Super Bowl. Had an absolute blast doing it. And something happened interestingly in the middle of that show. We had a troll pop up there in the chat.
Yeah, that was weird, man. I didn't like that.
No, we have such a great, an amazing community of people that join us on the chat during our live shows. And then and it's hard for me to keep up with the chat because, again, we don't have a producer, so I'm doing 900 other things.
and what I do is I just push one button. And I've already knocked over the iPad, spilled my drink, and I think it's the only reason people think I wear black because it's Raider Nation. No, it's because I just dribbled all the way down my shirt. Everything I own that's not black, you can see. I got coffee on this side, spaghetti sauce, dip spit. I got it all, man.
You got it all.
So, I sat down, and I've spilled everything, so I'm good to go.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
So Uncle Mosh can't moderate the chat. So anyway, so I glanced down at one point during the Super Bowl show, and there's all this like hateful
awful crap,
like racist stuff going on. And I'm like, whoa, like what the heck?
Ain't us.
So I try to go and delete stuff, and I'm like, I'm almost in panic mode. And then I'm like, oh wait, I think you can make somebody a moderator that can then handle that kind of stuff, during the thing, that can delete people and block them and whatever. And it was like, the angels were singing in my ears as I read the name Ron Stratton. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, Ron. I'm like, I know we could trust Ron. So I hit the button, gave him the moderator rights, and sure enough, man, Ron went to work and handled business, and thank you to Ron. Much, much respect, dude, for going in there and blocking that guy and getting rid of that trash that he was spewing in there. And so Ron's in there now. We always joke that we can't do the show officially until Ron joins us in the chat. So knowing that Ron is a kind of a fixture there, he's going to keep that wrench next to his name, and he's going to remain we're going to call him the Mater-Rater.
The Mater-Rater.
And so thank you to you, Ron, for bailing us out in that moment, and really appreciate you taking on that mantle. So I messaged back and forth with Ron a little bit a couple days ago, and so he's going to do that for us, Mosh. So he's going to be the man. He's going to be the made man in the chat room, the Mater-Rater. So much respect to Ron for that. So thank you very, very much. Okay. So we always, Mosh, name our shows, our episode number after something significant within Raider Nation. Whether that be a jersey number, a yardage total, sometimes that's a year. Sometimes we do something funky with it and we turn it backwards and whatever. But this week is pretty straightforward. So this is episode number 116 of Raiders Fan Radio. And Uncle Mosh, do you remember the game this year? I'm going to tell you the date. You won't remember the date, which was December 9th, but I will tell you the game. That was the Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nice. That was the first time this season I didn't get to watch with you.
It was.
Yeah.
That's right. We had our buddy Dave Northrup came over.
Right.
And Dave Northrup, prior to the show, hung out with us, and he's a Steelers fan. And so we poked fun at one another, and he played the drums for us. And it was a really fun episode. And David made a comment during that show that he hates coming over here to watch Steelers and Raiders games because the Raiders always win.
That's right. He's never seen the Raiders-Steelers game where he didn't walk home with his head down. I loved it.
And so we sent him packing once again, Mosh. He came over for the game, and the Raiders won. And during that game, the big receiving performance of the game was Jared Cook. So Carr, our quarterback, that guy that everybody criticizes all the time, he was only 25 for 34 for 322 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game.
Right.
And his favorite target of that game was Jared Cook. Jared didn't get in the end zone that game. That was Lee Smith and Derek Carrier scoring the touchdowns. But Jared Cook had 116 yards receiving in that game, Mosh. And this is what it sounded like.
Having the right play at the line of scrimmage.
Second down, going to throw it for the first time, looking for Cook, and there he is. Penalty flag comes down. The reception is made. Empty backfield at the Steelers' 35-yard line. Quick slant, and once more. Carr on first down, wide open down the middle. Wide open. How in the world do you leave Jared Cook that wide open? They're down in 7, only a 4-man rush. And there is Cook yet again. A very quiet game. This guy's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. So is this guy. What a year it's been for Jared Cook.
Smart football player.
I love that. So he's like, how do you leave Jared Cook that wide open? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's by far the best pass catcher on our team this last year. I mean, you know, what a stud, man. I'm so glad he got a chance to make the Pro Bowl. Granted, he went in as an alternate, but still, he was there. It didn't matter. He was there representing the Raiders, and so great season by him, and absolutely happy to celebrate Jared Cook on this episode number 116 of Raiders Fan Radio. And Uncle Mosh, I hope we get him back.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And all right, so hey, our first audio clip. Let's go back in time because it may be, hey, we may be going back there. Who knows?
Hey, this is Pete Koch, former Los Angeles Raiders. Yeah, back in the old days, baby. And you're listening to Murf and Uncle Mosh, who happens to have the same hair as me. Check it out, Raiders Fan Radio.
All right, Raider Nation, thanks again for joining us on the episode. And yeah, so who knows where the Raiders are going to play. So Mosh, there was an article that came out this week, or actually it was a tweet, I believe. It was somebody affiliated with a news station, I believe, that gave this account that the Raiders were going to officially play the 2019 season in Oracle Park, where the San Francisco Giants play.
And now for something completely different.
Not so fast, mister.
What do you mean, Mosh?
Not so fast.
I thought it was a done deal.
It's not a done deal. Hit me with that NFL report.
After all the tumult in Oakland here last year, do we know where they're playing in 2019 yet?
We do not. And there was a local report last night that included the fact that the Raiders had chosen to play at the home of the San Francisco Giants. My understanding is that's a little premature. That has not, in fact, been approved by the 49ers and may not be. They have territorial rights, essentially the right to San Francisco, and they could potentially block the Raiders from playing there. The NFL hasn't signed off either. Meanwhile, the 49ers guys have opened themselves up and said if the Raiders want to play at Levi's, that is a possibility, as still is Oakland.
So, Mosh, so the Raiders negotiate with the folks that run Oracle Park.
Right.
They come to a deal.
They get it all worked out.
They get it all worked out, and then they forget to ask the city and the NFL if it's okay if they play there. Now, look, you guys, those of you that pay attention enough to our show, and especially the ones that watch Mondays with Mikey and Murph and call me an apologist and a bootlicker and how nothing's ever wrong and the team can do no wrong. So here you go. Mr. Davis, I respect the heck out of everything you've done for this team. But this negotiating with the facility before you got approval from the league, I'm kind of not with you on this. And so now you've backed yourself into a corner, Mark Davis. Again, nothing but love, man, but you back yourself into a corner. Now you've either got to play it out in Oakland and pay them to essentially sue you, or you got to go be the little brother to the Niners down in Santa Clara. Mosh, what's going on here, man? How do you, what is this? I mean, I know what it means, but what do you think?
What is he doing? Is he having flashbacks to Baltimore, loading up their U-Haul van in the middle of the night to move to Indianapolis? What is going on here?
It's funny that, and now, look, we're A's fans. Okay, we like the Giants too. I got love for the Giants, but I'm an A's fan.
Sure.
Uncle Mosh maybe you probably lean a little more Giant than you do A's. I lean a little more A's than we do Giants.
Yeah.
But it's funny that the A's, once upon a time, of course, now they want this whole rooted in Oakland thing, which is all bunch of hooey, because they've tried to move numerous times, including they had a deal done where they were going to move to Santa Clara and be Cisco. They're going to be the San Jose A's or the Fremont A's, whatever. Santa Clara A's, not Fremont. They're going to be the Santa. I'm messing this all up now. They were going to be the elsewhere A's. The San Jose A's, which was technically the ballpark was going to be in Santa Clara, but it was going to be at Cisco Field. They already had a naming sponsor. They had the plans drawn up. It was a done deal. And the San Francisco Giants blocked the A's by saying, we own the territorial rights to the South Bay, where San Jose is, and they kept the A's from moving. So a San Francisco team blocked an Oakland team from moving to Santa Clara. Now here we got a San Francisco team blocking an Oakland team from moving to San Francisco because the San Francisco team plays in Santa Clara. Am I missing something?
And did the New York Giants ever play in New York?
I don't know. Did they play? They played at Yankee Stadium, I think, back in the day.
Once.
Like this is
crazy.
Just bananas. Like, well,
remember the Warriors. The Warriors were before they were the Golden State Warriors back in the day, were the San Francisco Bay Warriors.
Because it was Philadelphia first.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
then San Francisco, right? Yeah.
But they weren't in San Francisco.
And now
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So here's what just when you think we're kind of out of the dysfunctional realm, you know what I mean? Like we just talked about the other day about how it's taken like 10 years, man, to get past really. Because when did Al pass away? 2011. You know what I mean? And so so now here we are, 2019. So 8 years ago, we lost Al, and the last few years of Al was pretty dysfunction. Of course, it was always some level of dysfunction, it seems like, in the Al Davis owned Raiders. But that said, it's like to get all the way back. Like it seems like we spent all this time kind of removing this dysfunction, and like we're still kind of there. And I feel like it's going to go completely away once we get to Vegas. But Mosh, this next year, man, we've not known where the Raiders were going to play for a while, but let me ask you though, we'll wrap it up by saying this. What do you think is the better option? Going to Oakland, paying Oakland to essentially not only sue you, but sue the league, or going and playing little brother to the Niners and playing in Santa Clara for a year? Is there a better option? Or they both suck? Well, I know they both suck, but I mean.
Well, both options suck, but you got to look at it. Okay, so.
Let me clarify. I don't mean suck because playing in Oakland suck. I mean the conditions around them paying the money to get sued and all that part of it sucks. Not being in Oakland, not for Oakland fan. I'm not saying that. So just to clarify there. Sorry. Go ahead.
So as the diehard fan, the Oakland Raiders diehard fan, how awesome will it be to see San Francisco's stadium decked out in silver and black?
Yeah.
Call it little brother, but, or whatever you want. But I don't know, man. I think that would be so kick-ass to see
Levi's Stadium actually sell out once.
Levi's Stadium sell out once. And that if Raider fan is there, for the Raider games, Raider fan might show up for San Francisco games. So no matter who they're playing, let's say the 49ers are playing whoever, the Cowboys or whoever, to see Raider fans in that stadium.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Because I don't know, man. That would be really cool.
Niner tickets are not hard to get. My brother still lives right down the road where we were.
Well, they give them away with Slurpees.
Just about.
They really are easy to get.
They really are. My brother all the time, he says, of course, obviously he doesn't like it when his team's bad, but he's like, the nice thing about your team being bad, it's not hard to get a ticket.
Right.
I can go and I can go for cheap. When they're good and all the bandwagon comes out, it's a pain in the neck. And my brother, for being an idiot Niner fan, he's loyal. He's a real fan. He doesn't bandwagon it, that's for sure.
Right. And
you know what I mean?
So on the other
Sorry,
hand,
Alan, I just called you an idiot on the air, but
sorry, Alan. So on the other side, if the Raiders, if they say, okay, when you're talking the millions and millions of dollars that we're playing with, if they pay the bribe, call it what it is, if they pay is it $7 million, $9 million,
$7.5 million,
$7.5 million, and they say, okay, if we look at it and we cut our losses and we got a home stadium, let's call it an increase in the rent, call it whatever you want, pay it. Cut your losses, move on. Let's go. Let's just play one more.
I think it's got to be it. I think that's ultimately where it comes. Now, granted, I'm biased I'm wearing an Oakland Raiders shirt, I want them to be Oakland Raiders. I mean, I don't, because then you get into the, like, if they do play in San Francisco, what's the naming convention going to be? Are you going to call them the Raiders? Are you going to call me Oakland? Like, let's just avoid all that. Look, Mark, just bite the bullet, man. I know it sucks. I just said it a minute ago and I still mean it. It sucks that you're going to have to finance or subsidize a lawsuit against you and the league, frankly. And that's where I wonder how the NFL comes out on this. Because, look, the city of Oakland is not just suing the Raiders. They're suing the NFL. I mean, when you listen to the rhetoric and the comments that have been made, they're talking about the ownership group of the NFL. They're not talking about just Mark Davis in a vacuum. So I'm really curious to how the league is going to react to that. So, look, I don't know, man. It's crazy stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, the sooner the better. It's time for them to get out of Dodge, but I don't think this is one of those things, man. There's not a good answer here. There's just one or the other, and you're gonna have to, grin and bear it.
It's fodder for the fire, though. It gives us something to talk about in the offseason.
We will be literally talking about this all offseason. Absolutely. So it'll be interesting to see here. All right, next story up. Our buddy Matt Schneidman, Uncle Mosh, writer for the Bay Area News Group and the San Jose Mercury News. Matt Schneidman had a fantastic article out this week. Might have been last week, but regardless, I thought it was cool, and I wanted to bring it up here on the show. We're a big fan of Matt's work, and he had this really nice article, I thought, detailing kind of the overall high-level view of what the Raiders were going to do this offseason. And I know that's always a hot topic in the chat, and it's always a hot topic in social media. People love to speculate, what's the team going to do? What players are we going to go after in free agency? What players are we going to go after in the draft? Are we going to move around in the draft? Are we going to draft with just the picks that we have now? Like everybody loves to speculate on that stuff, and they're always fun conversations to have. So Mosh, Matt has this article, and he kind of goes through and talks about some of what is Mayock's footprint, to use Matt's words. What is his footprint going to be on this draft? What are some of the things that he's going to do? And he kind of alludes to the fact that Mayock might, he calls him Vegas Mike in the article, not in reference to the city we're going to play in, but to the idea that he might move around. He might wheel and deal a little bit. What do you think about that?
I love what he said, that Mayock said, if I had the first pick in the draft or if I had 2 picks, I'd be open for business. Hey, buddy, you got 3.
yeah. You're open.
Yeah.
Flip that sign around.
Oh,
you are open.
Gosh. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to, I mean, you got all kinds of stuff to play with here. You're holding all the cards. So it's going to be great. It's going to be wide open, man.
Absolutely. So, I like the idea, and he mentions a couple of names in the article. So let's start off with free agency. Free agency happens first, and free agency kind of sets up the draft a little bit. And I think there's some very interesting names out there. Of course, there's Jadeveon Clowney is very interesting, but I think Frank Clark is probably the more attainable player, especially in terms of now the Raiders are going to have a lot of money. They're going to have $74 million at last count to spend in the offseason, but Jadeveon Clowney might be a little bit more than what the Raiders are going to want to spend, where Frank Clark could be a little bit more in the wheelhouse of what they want to spend. And if you, I hate to use the word save, but if you avoid overspending on one guy, like if you spend it on Clark versus Clowney, then that leaves you money to then spend elsewhere. And I like Landon Collins a lot as a name. You're talking about a safety for the Giants, just an amazing football player. And we know we need a safety. He's a very good tackler. He can cover tight ends. We know we need somebody to cover tight ends. And so I think that's a really, really interesting couple of names in free agency. And of course, and the other name that comes up a lot is interior linebacker CJ Mosley from the Ravens. So I kind of like those as some of the names for the Raiders to target. 0% chance on Le'Veon Bell, 0% chance on Antonio Brown. The Raiders just spent this offseason and season, frankly, getting rid of ego guys. The last thing they're going to do is spend a whole bunch of money on 2 more ego guys. Like, that ain't going to happen. If you're going to spend $17 million a year and $45 guaranteed on Le'Veon Bell, then why didn't you just sign Khalil Mack?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's way too much money for a guy that's approaching 30 anyways. So, and a running back. Like, I don't see that. And Antonio Brown, man, he's an amazing player. He's arguably the best player at his position in the whole freaking league. The guy is an absolute knockout player. He's amazing. But you're not going to spend that much money on a guy that's got the, you know, the quote ego and been the diva wide receiver. I don't see fitting in with the Raiders. Do you?
No, it's funny that you say that, because when you have the ability to, you have 3 first-round draft picks and you have the ability to trade, and you're going to want to consider all that. How it's important how he's going to fit into the scheme, how he's going to fit into the locker room,
Absolutely.
how he's going to fit into what you're trying to build. You know, that was part of the reason, if you remember right, part of the reason when there was a lot of mixed emotion when they brought Marshawn on.
Yeah.
You know, there was because that old scheme, that old system before Gruden got there, Marshawn, you know, everybody said, well, he's going to be a distraction. He's going to be this. He's going to be that, you know, and he never really panned out one way or the other. You know, there was a lot of people that were still out to lunch on him till Gruden came in. And then we started seeing all this stuff about DC going to him for advice, that playing the role that older player needed to play. So
absolutely,
that's definitely something that they're going to be looking at.
You're right. That's a great point. Marshawn's leadership ability was always there. His ability to demonstrate it openly, that really showed up under Gruden.
Absolutely.
And we covered, I remember this last offseason during training camp and whatnot. I mean, we played audio clips of Derek going to Marshawn for advice and for his, you know, help.
Even when Pepe was there that day that
absolutely.
he was there.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. Yeah, that was great stuff. Great point, Mosh. And then in terms of the draft, the other thing that Matt covers in this article, and I think here's what a key point is, and I want to really drive this one home. I felt this way for a long time, and I think that it really rings true, Raider Nation. And just remember this when we're going through this process and we watch what the team does. Those first 3 draft picks are really sexy. It's really cool to think about the options and the opportunities that the Raiders have, what they can do with those top 3 picks. What's not as sexy is the 7 that come after that. But that's where your team gets built. And that's what Mike Mayock will tell you, is that the 7th round pick is just as important as the 1st round pick. He will spend just as much time researching what to do with the 7th round pick as he will what to do with the 1st round pick, because that's where your team is built. Now the old saying goes, you draft your superstars in the 1st round and you draft your team everywhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where you build the foundation of your football team, is in those latter rounds. So as much fun as we're going to have speculating and even watching day 1 of the draft is going to be a freaking blast, man. Watching the Raiders pick or trade or do whatever they do, day 1 is going to be an absolute blast. But where the success of our team is going to be defined, and where the legacy of Mike Mayock and John Gruden and all that is going to be defined, is going to be from 2 to 7, probably even from 3 to 7.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind as we're going through this process and going through, and we watch our team go through the draft here in 2019. All right, Mosh, you got anything else on that draft or Matt Schneidman there?
I'm done. I'm done with Schneidman. Let's move on.
All right, let's hit the chat one more time before we get into to another story here. Appreciate Joseph Morales, Raider Rich, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, Raider Ramon I see in there, Eye Patch, what's up Eye Patch, Chris Potts, Stackanova, James M., San Diego Raider, and appreciate everybody joining us and supporting Raiders Fan Radio as you always do. All right, Uncle Mosh, we had a retirement.
Okay.
This year.
Were we glad to see him go? Was he on the Q-Dog hit list?
Oh, this guy's been on the Q-Dog hit list for like 17 years.
Has he been on the Q-Dog hit list since before there was a Q-Dog hit list?
Absolutely.
Is he the reason for the Q-Dog hit list?
Absolutely. Q-Dog may have been in college as a Q-Dog when this guy first ended up on the hit list. I don't know what year Aaron was in college, but it's been, let me just say this. This guy has been on my hit list and most of Raider Nation's hit list since 2001 when the Tuck rule happened. And look, this is the guy that was officially responsible for the Tuck rule. Look, You can hate Tom Brady, hate the Patriots, whatever you want to do. Hate him, Adam Vinatieri, Bill Belichick. You can hate them all. But the guy that was responsible for the tuck rule was referee Walt Coleman. Referee Walt Coleman is the one that stepped in, and remember this, Raider Nation, overturned a correctly called play on the field.
Right.
It was called a fumble on the field, and this fool went in there and misinterpreted a rule and applied it and changed it. He overturned it. Dang it, that pisses. Just even thinking about it now pisses me off. He freaking overturned it. So
I heard at referee meetings he gives out 3x5 index cards.
Oh my gosh, so just crazy. So anyways, Walt Coleman officiated his last game in the Pro Bowl. Good riddance.
See
Good
ya.
riddance. See you, goodbye. Double tap that career Q-Dog for, I mean, it was just, no one will be more glad that this guy won't be involved with calling any more NFL games than Raider Nation. And so I bring it up because last week during the Super Bowl week, Charles Woodson was making his rounds on Radio Row. And, you know, look, they asked Chuck about the tuck rule, and he's very open in his opinion about it. And, you know, none more respected in the Raider Nation than Charles Woodson. So let's go ahead and hear his take to this day on the tuck rule.
So I am mandated on behalf of New England fans everywhere, including the gentleman to my left, who you know is a New England fan, and also my wife.
I turned my back to him.
No, I understand you did. The difference is the tuck. Do you not believe the tuck rule was appropriately applied as it was written in the rule book?
I do not. I feel like here's an interesting thing about it, the way I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I watch the news a lot. You know, a lot of times you'll have, you know, two economists on television, and they'll be talking about their economy. One will say the economy is doing great, and one will say it's in the tank. But you're like, oh, these are economists. They both have the same facts and figures, same numbers. How can they have differences of opinion, right? 2 + 2 is 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
2 + 2 is 4?
Yes.
Correct.
We're all in agreement.
Right. So when you look at the missed call, if you ask 100% of Saints fans, 100% of Rams fans, should it have been called, everybody would say yes.
Yes.
2 + 2 is 4.
Mm-hmm.
In our case, 2 + 2 is still 4, but they added 1. So 2 + 2 = 5. Why? Because they were able to add their own interpretation into it. So they took a play, 2 + 2 is 4, a fumble. They added their own interpretation and made it into incomplete pass.
Because they ruled it a fumble and came back and looked at it. He's just in the process of bringing it down when you hit him.
He was able to take the rule and justify why he overturned it. So if me and you were in a court of law and you're arguing that his arm was going forward, I would say, well, show me the part where his arm's going forward. You would show the tape. You see his arm going forward, and then you'd bring it back. And then I say, well, tell me, when did he fumble? Did he fumble while his arm was going forward? And you would have to tell me, no. He brought it when he brought it back into his body. Hence the tuck rule, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So was he bringing it back into his body, or was it into his body? So there's a technicality to it.
Hey, look.
So he wasn't bringing the ball back into his body. When I hit him, he had it, both hands on the ball. It's in his body. He ain't bringing it back into his body. It's a fumble.
He was getting fired up.
You could hear it, huh?
Oh, man.
You could hear it riling up.
When I hit him.
Yeah, you can hear it riling up, man. I love it. I love Charles Woodson, man. He is an absolute, just perfect ambassador for Raider Nation and the Raiders, and he bleeds silver and black to this day. And I'm with you, Mosh. You can hear the passion in him, and that passion still to this day, man. I mean, it riles us all up, man, and it's great stuff. So,
hey, let me interrupt you.
Okay, hit the
iPad says, Murph, give him a quick math lesson.
In the terms of the tuck rule, 2 + 2 = 5. That's all you need to know, man. All you need to know. So, you know, we love Charles Woodson around here, and so, you know, I didn't want to end our Charles Woodson segment, even though we're going to celebrate Walt Coleman retiring, and we got Charles's take on the tuck rule. I didn't want to leave our Charles Woodson segment on a down note. And so in doing some of my research this week, I came across some audio of Charles Woodson and the very last time he put on a uniform and stepped on the field, which was the 2015 Pro Bowl. And guess who was on the sideline as a sideline reporter, Mosh?
Tell me who it was.
It was one and only John Gruden.
Nice.
And so Coach Gruden and Charles Woodson had a pretty fun exchange on the sideline of the Pro Bowl. So let's go ahead and listen to that before we head on to the next segment.
Charles, I'm your old coach, man.
What's up, Groove dog?
What you doing out there on offense?
Man, you didn't see me just work the cover two?
That was one of the worst
I
routes
just worked the cover two and set myself in a honey hole, waiting on the ball. Ain't no clear out. You know
playing
that.
offense.
How can you be retiring from football? Why are you moving away from the game?
You know what, Coach? To be honest with you, man, I'm just tired. And that's really all I can say. I've done all I could do out there, man. I gave it my all. And it comes a point in time, man, when you got to give it up.
Tell me what you're going to miss the most.
I'm going to miss being on this sideline. I'm going to miss running out there, man, before the game, being able to run out of the tunnel and hear the fans scream your name, scream whatever team you're on, man. I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss standing out here, you know, and listening to the national anthem. I'm going to miss all that, man.
God bless you. Good luck to you. I'm going to try and talk you out of retirement.
Appreciate that, Coach. You can try.
I'm going to try and talk you out of retirement.
Isn't that the best?
I wonder if he's still trying.
You know what? I think Charles, you know, look, mentally he was done. He says when you listen to him, he says, I woke up in Detroit one morning, and it was the first time in my life I ever had the feeling or the thought, I don't want to get up and go. Like he was, because he said he was tired. He did the first, and he said it was fleeting, but he knew, even with that fleeting thought in his head, that he was tired, that he didn't want to get up and go, that was it. And that was the day he decided he was going to, because remember, he didn't have a big drawn-out retirement party,
no
like
celebration.
Nothing like that. And he thankfully got a chance to say goodbye to the fans at home and all that stuff. But it wasn't like it wasn't a big retirement tour like you see, you know, Derek Jeter and a lot of other famous players do.
Right.
He didn't have that, and it's because he didn't plan on retiring until that one day he woke up in Detroit. And so, you know, but I think that if it wasn't for that mental blip physically, I think he could have played another couple years.
Yeah.
You know, and I wish that he would have got a chance to stick around that one extra year and join the Raiders for that playoff run. I mean, even though Derek Carr got hurt and we probably didn't stand a chance in Houston anyways, it sure would have been nice to see Chuck get one more shot at the playoffs, man. That would have been cool. But all right, so Uncle Mosh. Speaking of the playoffs.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right. So, this last week during the run up to the Super Bowl, they have, of course, the NFL honors, big ceremony, the award ceremony, if you will, for the NFL, and they announced their Hall of Fame finalists and Hall of Fame inductees for the upcoming season. And Coach Flores, our Tom Flores, two-time Super Bowl winning coach for the Raiders, was on the list. Okay, he was
the
on the
short list.
On the short list, he was on the list as a finalist, and he didn't make it this year as an inductee. And so the common theme around, of course, Raider Nation was Coach Flores got snubbed. And, you know, we agree. We fully agree that Coach Flores was snubbed. Now, I am going to talk a little bit about the big picture on this thing. But first, I want to play an audio clip, and I want to talk a little bit about why he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame.
How many players like Tom? Minority, first quarterback.
He played quarterback at a time when you could do everything that a quarterback you wanted to do as a defensive player, and he got up every time. He stayed in the pocket. He was not mobile. Stayed in the pocket, and he delivered the football.
He played in Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl as a player.
Then he becomes a coach. And interesting to me, you talk about being slighted, about people that belong in the Hall of Fame.
He beat Joe Gibbs of the Washington Redskins. Joe Gibbs is in the Hall of Fame. Tom Flores is not. He beat the Marv Levy's. He beat the Don Shulers in big games. And they're in the Hall of Fame.
Got 30 minutes of Raider football, baby. 30 minutes of Raider football, and it's all ours.
He has reached the pinnacle with being a quarterback and a coach. It's very commendable.
First Latino to win a Super Bowl. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? I don't have an answer for that.
He should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. There's
coaches that are in the Hall of Fame that haven't done what Tom's done.
First of all, I think he's got like 4 Super Bowl rings as a player, assistant coach, and a head coach. He's done it all, and he's been extremely successful on every level, so he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Give it to him while he's here.
It's a tragedy that Tom Flores is not in the Hall of Fame, but his day is coming soon.
All right, Mosh. So there you go. So here you hear some of, and those are former players. That's Ron Wolf. That's Carlos Santana. That's all kinds of people in there talking about the significance of Tom Flores' career and the fact that he should be in the Hall of Fame. So a couple key points there. So yes, he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion. He won it once as a player. We covered this on our Super Bowl show.
Right.
He won it once as a player. He won it once as a coach. He won it
assistant coach.
Once as assistant coach, and then twice as a head coach. His winning percentage against Hall of Fame coaches, he's got a better than 500 winning percentage against Don Shula and Joe Gibbs and Bill Walsh. So when you look at Tom Flores' career, there is no doubt that you cannot tell the story of the NFL without telling the story of Tom Flores, the first Latino quarterback, the first Latino head coach to win a Super Bowl. Like, there is a huge list of achievements that this man has accomplished that qualify him as a Hall of Famer. When we look at his Raiders head coaching career, he has a .610 winning percentage as a head coach, and he has the 2 Super Bowl championships. When you consider just that in a vacuum, it puts him absolutely slam dunk in the middle of the Super Bowl era head coaches, okay? So when we look at Tom's winning percentage of .610, the highest on this list of Super Bowl era head coaches winning percentages, number 1 is John Madden at .759, sure. Okay? All the way at the bottom of that list is Weeb Ewbank at .502. Okay.
Right.
Now, Weeb Ewbank, a majority of his career came pre-Super Bowl. For those of you that don't know, Weeb Ewbank was the head coach of the Super Bowl III winning Jets. Okay. But Weeb, a majority of his career happened before that. So out of all these guys on this list, he's the lowest. Above him is Marv Levy, whose Super Bowl winning, or his winning percentage in the league was .561, and as we know, Marv had the 4 straight Super Bowl appearances for the Buffalo Bills. All right, so I said all that to say this: when we consider Flores as a Raider, he fits slam dunk in the middle of this thing. When we look at the rest of his coaching career, that's where I think the committee's getting hung up. So I said all that to say this, Raider Nation. Look, it sucks. We know it sucks. But I'm trying to figure out what they're looking at. Like, I'm trying to understand why. Why would they keep him out? Like, there's all these wonderful things that this man has done in his career, all these significant things that he's done in his career. Why would they keep him out? And the only thing I can land on, Mosh, is that when you look at the last 3 years of his career, when he was the Seattle Seahawks head coach, and he came out from under the umbrella of Al Davis and the Raiders, it wasn't very good. And he has a .292 winning percentage in the final 3 years, and that drags his overall coaching winning percentage down to .527. So when we look at the list of all these Super Bowl era coaches that are in the Hall of Fame, Coach Flores doesn't come close to their winning percentage. And I don't know. What do you think? That's the only thing I can think of that I can wrap my brain around. Because listen, I'll read you the names real quick. I won't give you all the numbers. I won't bore you guys with that. But it's Madden, Lombardi, George Allen, Don Shula, Paul Brown, Tony Dungy, Joe Gibbs, Bud Grant, Bill Walsh, Tom Landry, Hank Stram, Bill Parcells, Chuck Noll, Marv Levy. Like, I mean, you're talking about the greatest of the greats. Now, that doesn't include George Halas and Curly Lambeau and all them. Sure. They weren't Super Bowl era. But I mean, that's an amazing freaking list. So I don't. What do you think? Help me talk through this, Mosh.
When you factor in the tangibles with the intangibles is where we run into the problem. Okay, Tom Flores obviously has the credentials. You know, when you got a hand that's weighted down 5 pounds more than the other one because of the rings, yeah. He deserves to be there. But when you get into this voting thing, people don't see that. They don't see and why they're the ones that make the choices. I'll never know. I've had such a hard time with the Hall of Fame anything when ABBA got in the Hall of Fame over Kiss.
Yeah, for the Rock
and Roll Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? Who voted on that stuff? You know? So who voted on Flores?
How about when Jethro Tull won the Heavy Metal Best Album Award over Metallica?
Seriously.
Yeah. Like, wait a minute. When did Jethro Tull turn into heavy metal?
So Ian Anderson standing there on one leg like a freaking flamingo playing a damn flute, and they get in over Metallica?
You pulled it.
You know?
That was awesome.
Sorry. It does when you open stuff up to voting, it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. If Jeff Fisher hadn't had that terrible run with the Titans and then gone to L.A. or St. Louis, you know, and bombed out, they'll never say his word and the HOF in the same sentence.
Heck no, man.
You know, but up to that point, you know, he was on the rules committee.
True.
He was blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know, Madden was smart. He started making video games. He went in the booth. He aligned himself. You know, but had he gone to another team, you know, I mean, who knows? But you know, I think Flores needs to be there. You know, and I just can't see it. And I'm with the guys in the chat. I'm with the people that say, you know, let's not have another Kenny. Let's not put him in when he's gone. You know,
he's 81 years old.
He's got to be in there. You know, and it just, I mean, all the stuff he did for the Latino communities, all the stuff that he did for football. The man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But they look at, oh, let's look at the overall picture. But are you taking out those first 12, 15, 18 years? And only going to base it on those last few? You can't do that.
You can't do that. And that's,
I don't know.
And you know, and I think that's something that gets missed when you just look at numbers. And that's all I did there. I mean, when I told you what I just told you, that's all. I'm only strictly looking at numbers. But that doesn't tell the story because there's no context there.
No.
It's just like why they look, Lynn Swann is in the Hall of Fame instead of Cliff Branch. And when you look at the numbers, Cliff Branch blows Lynn Swann out of the water. He's got 3 championships. I know Swann's got 4, but the optics of Lynn Swann to the committee, not to us, but the optics were better. They look at his career as being more significant and being more the better player in the time in which he played, which is garbage. But that's what they did.
Lester Hayes.
So Lester Hayes, another glaring omission from the Hall of Fame. Phil Villapiano, glaring omission. Like there's a handful of so Flores is, you know, sadly in a glaring omission, along with Plunkett. Even you could put on there.
Gosh.
But I think I think here's what's important to remember, and this is what I'm gonna keep falling back on, regardless of whether you think his performance and his numbers and whatever things you want to fall in on. At the end of the day, it always comes down to this to me: were you the best at what you did and the time in which you did it? It's hard to argue against a man that went to the playoffs and won 2 Super Bowls in his career during that time. So during that Raider tenure, was he the best at the time in which he did it? Absolutely he was. And then can you tell the story of the league without telling the story of this person? You cannot, because especially in today's world when we're wanting to tell stories of inclusivity, or you know what I mean? What a more amazing story is it than that? Than breaking those barriers. Why do we celebrate Al Davis in the ways and call him the Maverick and a lot of what he did? Because of the freaking barriers that he broke. Well, that's what Tom Flores did. So why? It drives me nuts, Mosh. And I was even one of those people early on that was like, all right, well, I kind of get it, you know, blah, blah, blah. Not now. Not after really studying it and really paying attention to it. There's way too much significance to his career to keep him out of the Hall of Fame. Oh,
they hate us because they ain't us. You know, it drives me nuts. Let's move on.
Here is the latest draft. There's a draft.
Today's our draft.
Watch out for drafts.
This is the NFL draft.
The first draft. Look, I'm entering a draft.
He's going pro in the draft.
You're going to the draft?
Surefire first round draft pick.
Draft looks solid.
Good luck with the draft.
They drafted me.
Apparently you were drafted.
I drafted you.
I got drafted.
Another successful draft.
Yeah. Shallow draft.
Draft picks.
It's my third draft.
You only get drafted once.
Well, it's draft day.
Let's talk about the draft.
This is gonna be the worst draft yet. It's our draft.
You drafted me in the first round.
#1 draft choice, signed a big contract.
Excellent draft.
Nashville Day. Nashville Day. Nashville Day.
You love that.
Oh my gosh, that's
that
one of
part.
that's one of my favorite sound bites you did. Those are so good. Those
Thanks,
are
man.
so good.
All right, so just a quick draft update for you. We still don't have our place settled. I had some other stuff going on this week. I had some real life, and so I didn't have a chance to finalize some plans that we have, but it's coming soon. So here's a quick update for this week. I'm gonna for those of you that are watching on the stream, you see there. Can you read that? It says NFL Draft Fan Mobile Pass. So when you if you're coming to the draft, in order to get a ticket. If you're coming to the draft, you're going to the draft. Everyone gets a ticket. There's no lottery system. They're going to have room for like literally 250,000 people downtown. So, but to go, you have to download the app. Well, the app is not available yet. You see when you put it in there into the search bar that a few NFL apps come up. Pro Bowl Fan Pass Mobile, NFL, Super Bowl Fan Mobile Pass. All right. Eventually, you're going to see one populate there that says NFL Draft Fan Mobile Pass. So download that app onto your phone. You're going to have to come back and listen to the audio version of Raiders Fan Radio and hear our interview this week. I had one of my favorite interviews. We have a lot of favorites, but the most recent favorite, and I didn't even get a sound drop. I just thought of that, Mosh. I didn't get an ID. But a great interview with Aaron Rosa. Aaron, for those of you that don't know, he's a drummer and he plays in a band called Palisades. They are a heavy metal band from Iselin, New Jersey, which is right across the river from New York. These guys, they're awesome, man. They've been around officially since 2011. You'll hear in the interview they got together from the time they were teenagers and up and coming from a garage band all the way through to Van Days on the road to now this amazing tour that they're on. Their stuff is blowing up all over the place. Uncle Mosh, you looked them up on your Spotify before we got started, and do you remember what those numbers were?
They got one song that's got 9 million plays.
9 million.
That's crazy. That's more than us. That's more than our Super Bowl, our Raiders Fan Radio Super Sunday Super Bowl Super Show with the two stupids.
With the two stupids. That's right. Yeah. And so, so the band is really coming into their popularity. And with the latest release of this new album called War, and no, War is the new single. Erase the Pain, excuse me, is the new album.
And they get it, man. They get it. Man. And their videos are awesome too.
Yes, it's great stuff. So so enjoy this interview with Raiders fan and drummer for Palisades, Aaron Rosa. And for those of you on the YouTube, just hang with us and we'll be right back. All right, Raider Nation, there's our interview with the awesome Aaron Rosa. Thank you, Aaron, for taking time for us here to hang out a little bit in Murph's Fan Cave and talk a little bit of Raiders football, talk about some metal, talk about some influences, and, man, just a great interview. And I love it, Mosh. One of the goals we had when we started Raiders Fan Radio was to get not only and celebrate Raider fans, like the regular Raider fans like us and like the people in the chat, but some of the more high profile Raider fans. And we've had some really cool celebrities and high profile people over the years on the show. And it's how cool is it, man, that to have this guy that's in this amazingly popular band like come on our show and talk about being a Raider fan, man. It's so cool.
And retweeted our tweets and he's all in, man. Yeah. All in for Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. So very cool. So definitely support Palisades. Support them. Go out and check them out on tour. Aaron mentioned the tours that are starting up. They're going to be on the road from this month all the way through, I believe it was like May. So they'll be coming through your town, man. It's a nationwide tour. They're going to be in Nashville in April. And I'm going to go. And if you can, please come with me. And we'll definitely go and check out Palisades and support what they're doing. So definitely, Raider Nation, download, listen to their stuff, and go see them live.
Looking, he's under the gun. He's tied, he throws. It is! Oh, he caught it! He caught it!
All right, Uncle Mosh, you know the favorite part of our show is, of course, the Sea of Fans mailbag. That's where we hear from you, Raider Nation. You can call us anytime at 909-345-3346. Leave us a voicemail, and if we play your voicemail, if we play your voicemail,
You've been tailgating too much.
If we play your message 3 times here on the show, you become what's referred to as a made man or a made woman, either way. And so the made men are represented by what we call the capo. It's the made man of the made men, and that is one Aaron the Q-Dog Raider. And we always start off our Sea of Fans mailbag segment with a call from the capo. So let's go first and hear from our buddy Aaron the Q-Dog Raider.
Greetings, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider calling from the east side. Mosh, Sonny, Murf, Lil Murf. He's a bad boy. All right, let's get to it. There's a lot to cover. Let's start with the Super Bowl this past weekend. I mean, honestly, what can we say about this past weekend Super Bowl between the Lambs and the Patriots that hadn't been saying about the Syrian campaign? I mean, honestly, it was bombed out. It was poorly executed. The people on the ground were all losers. And in the end, the bad guy won. I'm sick of Brady. I like Michigan football. I can't stand Brady. But if we're going to bring this evil dynasty to an end, the Raiders are going to be the ones that have to do it.
Amen.
And speaking of dynasties coming to an end, how about your girl over in San Francisco? We're talking about the mayor. Miss London Breed, who came out against the Raiders, putting a halt to them playing in Oracle Park. I mean, or AT&T, but whatever the hell it is. It's in San Francisco, so it doesn't matter what it is. The thing is, as reported by Lisa Fernandez out of KTVU, that she's on record as saying that the Oakland Raiders need to play in Oakland. Now, I don't know if she's casting shade or simply doing us a favor. We need to play in Oakland, so let's swallow our pride. Levi's Stadium is out of the equation. We ain't trying to do that. We ain't playing second fiddle to nobody. But keep in mind, playing at home means something this year because the Raiders have come out as playing the most difficult schedule for the upcoming season. Check that out. They come in at number 1 with a 54% win percentage by their opposing teams. Coming in second is the Broncos. 5th tied are the Bears and the Chiefs. Now, figure this out and tell me the fix isn't in, but at the bottom, as far as the easiest schedules, you got the Patriots and Rams tied for last place as far as the easiest schedule coming into the next year. That's garbage. But anyway, Levi Damien, who puts out, ill-typed report on SB Nation, he put out a couple of folks that we need to have on our wish list as far as running backs and free safeties. The running backs doesn't really matter. I mean, honestly, I got my eye on Mark Ingram. Maybe Tevin Campbell. My goodness, I ain't that sensitive. Excuse me for that. Tevin Coleman out of the Falcons. Either one would be good with me. But let's focus on that free safety spot. Landon Collins out of the Giants. He's a 6-footer, 218 pounds, a Pro Bowl selection. You might want to look at him. Ha-ha Clinton Dix. I mean, he's starting to get well-traveled, but, hey, he's a Pro Bowler. He's young. Once again, he, too, is out of the University of Alabama, just like Landon Collins, and both of those guys are Mike Mayock's picks as far as, must-gets out of the respective 2016 and 2014 drafts. Adrian Amos, he plays with He Who Shall Not Be Named up there in Chicago, but, he's viable as well. He's out of Penn State in the 2015 draft, and Mike Mayock had him high on his board, and he'd be a good fit for Paul Gunther's system. So that's all I got as far as analysis. Now, Thursday, SB Nation had put out a tweet, and it went out to all Raiders fans, and it had a simple question. If you could force the Raiders to do one thing this offseason, what would it be? Now, here are the various responses that we got. One was signed Antonio Brown. Hell no. Sign Le'Veon Bell. Hell, double no. Play the 2019 season in Oakland. I think I might have touched on that, and I say that we need to swallow our pride and make that happen. Sign Frank Clark. Whatever. Sign Jadeveon Clowney. Okay, I feel that. Find a true middle linebacker. Man, I've been banging this drum for so long.
Yeah, absolutely.
And re-sign Jared Cook. They had a couple of other ones that are on the fringe, one being trade Derek Carr and draft a QB. I ain't feeling that. Keep Derek Carr and don't draft a QB. Yeah, that's starting to make a lot more sense. But the last one, and it's really a head-scratcher, was have Mark Davis sell the team. What in the, man, that's some. But anyway, I am my call, Johnny Townsend. You're going to stay on the hit list. We need another punter, y'all, for real. All right, this call is dedicated to Tom Flores, who is in his 24th year of eligibility. Tom Flores was once again shut out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this his first year as a finalist. Murph was right about that. But the systemic lack of respect for this pioneering Hispanic American is sickening. And it's often a lot of insight into the hearts of the voters, you know what I'm saying, who select the Hall of Fame members. It's a real shame. That's all I got, y'all. Oh, if I can get one thing, I want to slow dance with the mayor. Miss Reed, holler at me. Gruden.
He's the best. So, hey, Mosh, you and Q-Dog, as usual, agree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a very interesting point. It's an insight into the voters, man. It is. It's a slight. No doubt about it. Great call, as always, from the Capo. And appreciate you, Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, all you do to support Raiders Fan Radio. All right, Uncle Mosh, another way to contact our show is to email us. You can email us at show@RaidersFanRadio.com. And sometimes we get new emails, sometimes we get old emails. And some guys, man, are like clockwork. Every week we know we're going to get an email from Shropshire, Mississippi, which is also in the UK, east of Birmingham or west of Birmingham.
That's right. West of Birmingham.
And our buddy Paul. So, Mosh, what do we got from Paul this week?
Well, Paul says, good evening, guys. There can only be one topic for me to focus on this week, and that's the Super Sunday Super Bowl Super Show. Uncle Mosh, I know you said last week you didn't really like to read out the positive comments that many people send you. Well, I make no apologies for saying how great you guys were last Sunday. Well, thank you, Paul. When you first mentioned you were doing the show, I commented on Twitter that it would be the best Super Bowl Sunday since 1984, and I wasn't wrong. Thanks again. Nothing fires me up more than hearing the audio footage from our Super Bowl wins. Well, except Jennifer Aniston, but I'm going off topic. I watch my America's Game trilogy DVDs quite often, and I still get teary-eyed over a number of things. In particular, Old Man Willie and Marcus Allen running with the night following 17 Bob Trejo.
Allen's touchdown was a play called 17 Bob Trejo. The Raiders have used it for years, but no one ever ran it quite the way Allen did in Super Bowl 18.
That was amazing.
That was amazing.
Nice. So, Paul, of course, is listening to his DVD, and Todd Christensen's talking about it, and he goes on to say that he can't get past the late great Todd Christensen getting emotional talking about that. And he says it gets him every time. Now,
and just in that scene, and I'm interrupt, but just that scene where Christensen is kneeling down in the end zone, and they kind of zoom in on him with the camera, and he gets up and he's just kind of covering his face and turns away. It's just like,
17 Bob Trejo. Well, then Paul goes on to say, now I should say at this point that I am aware that I am admitting to shedding male tears and that Capo Q-Dog and the other made men may be ready to send me swimming with the fishes. But in my defense, I'm only crying over our family, and that's a good thing, right? You don't want to stop me crying like a law school kid when we win number 4, and we will real soon.
There we go.
The other thing I love to see after Super Bowl 18 is the look on Al Davis's face when Pete Rozelle hands him the Lombardi trophy. It's a thing of beauty.
Oh, yeah.
I said to Murph on Twitter that whenever anybody asks me in the future, why the Raiders, I'll show them that 2-hour video from last Sunday. Thanks as always, fellas. Love you, nation. Love you guys. Regards, Paul Egerton from Shropshire, Mississippi.
Awesome job. Thank you, Paul, very much, and appreciate all the kind words, man. We had a lot of fun putting that show together, man.
It was a blast.
Cool. It was, Mosh and I talked about afterwards how cool it was for us to do a show where there was a topic. Like, there was, you know what I mean? Like, it was just fun because, I mean, there's a lot of things to talk about within the 3 Super Bowl wins, but it was fun to just kind of have one thing and just drill into it. And I'm with you too. There ain't no shame in a crying game on that thing. I wasn't boo-hooing over here, but even like just listening to it and putting that stuff together, I got chills like 5 or 6 different times where I was like, I've heard these things a million times and seen them a million times, but there's just something look, when you're this diehard of a fan, man, it's gotta get you a little bit. You know what I mean? If you got a pulse as Raider Nation, man, it's gonna get you a little bit. So yeah, man, awesome. Appreciate all the kind words again, Paul, and always keep the emails coming. All right, our buddy Houston Raider Steve. You know, Houston Raider Steve Mosh. He contacts our show quite a bit, and we're so thankful for him always reaching out to us. And he is full. Talk about a guy that's a Raider historian. He is full of vast amounts of Raider Nation knowledge. And a lot of times, just due to time constraints, we don't have time to get to some of his comments. But I thought, off the heels of our Super Bowl Super Show, that let's hit a couple of voicemails from Steve. So let's hear the first one from our buddy out there in Houston.
Hello, Murf and Mosh, Houston Raider Steve. We've got some interesting trivia for you. Back in the 1980 season, the Raiders played at the Philadelphia Eagles at Veterans Stadium. They lost 7-10. Then they ended up playing them in the Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl 15, and the Raiders won overwhelmingly, convincingly, 27-10. And the other interesting fact is in the 1983 season, the Los Angeles Raiders played at RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C. They lost a close game, 35-37 on the road, regular season, 1983 season. Then they ended up facing each other in the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 18, the final score was 38-9, Raiders over the Redskins. So I find it interesting that both of those Super Bowl wins, they played the eventual team that were going to play in the Super Bowl on the road in a close loss, but then yet again, when they played each other in the Super Bowl, it was an easy blowout win. I find that convincing. So that's my Raiders trivia. Love your show, and go Raiders.
Great call, Houston Raider Steve. That's very interesting, Mosh, and something that I learned in going back and doing the research for our show. That win against Philadelphia in the Super Bowl was the first time that a team has beat a team in the Super Bowl that they lost to in the regular season. So I thought that was very interesting. That was the first time in history that had happened.
That says to me, coaching. When you learn from your mistakes, when you can say, when you study film and you study the players on both sides of the ball, and you can make the adjustments. You've got an objective to win, and you've got obstacles, and then you make your adjustments. Man, that's coaching.
And who was the head coach of those teams?
I don't
Mosh?
remember.
The two teams that made those adjustments were head coached by Tom freaking Flores. See, and there's your context.
Yep.
That stuff doesn't come out in a freaking number.
You can't see that on a spreadsheet, bro.
Nope, absolutely. All right, here we go. Here's let's go back to our buddy Houston Raider Steve. He had another call in.
Murf and Mosh, this is Houston Raider Steve. I called 610 AM radio, which is the flagship station for the Houston Texans. They have a Hall of Fame voter. His name is John McClain. He's been covered 40 Super Bowls, and he's been voting for the Hall of Fame forever. I called in on their take show and everything, call-in show, and I said, I think it's a travesty that Tom Flores is not in the Hall of Fame. He's a great man. He's done more for the league than Pat Bowlen ever did. And you put Pat Bowlen in before Tom Flores, I said Raider Nation is pissed off, especially my Hispanic brothers and sisters. I said this is a travesty. There's no reason why he should not be in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. And I thought afterwards, after I hung up, I said, what's going to happen? Does he have to go in the Hall of Fame after Kenny Stabler passes away before they put him in? Because all these little small-minded voters that think their vote is so important so they could say, oh, yeah, we kept him out of the Hall of Fame because we didn't like Al Davis. They need to get over it, grow some cojones, and start doing what's right. This is an injustice. Thank God they put Tony Gonzalez in. As far as I know, maybe Tony's only the second Hispanic player in the Hall of Fame after Anthony Munoz. But please, I mean, this is supposed to be a Hall of Fame for all the people, not just rich white guys. Excuse my language, but that's just the way I feel. God bless. Great show. Love your Super Bowl show and your other interviews and your the Splatterhead and Fitz, the fan called Blitz, and Mikey and Murph. Great job. God bless. Bye.
Awesome job there, Houston Raider Steve. Now and he brings up something very interesting on that call. Of course, obviously he reiterated a lot of the sentiment that we've had from other callers and from Mosh and I tonight. But he brought up calling the Houston radio station, and John McClain, who is a Hall of Fame voter,
right?
Is an NFL. I think it was the Houston Chronicle is who he's been a writer for a million years, and he used to guest on one of our local shows here in Middle Tennessee. And before podcasts and all that stuff became a thing, remember, I used to call that show a lot.
All the time.
And I would talk to John McClain. He is the biggest Raider hater you'll ever find. And for those of you that listen to the show, to the Super Bowl show, I talked about something significant that happened in Houston Oilers history, in where they said in the 2 years that they lost in the AFC Championship game in 78 and 79 that they knocked on the door, they beat on the door, and the next year they were going to kick the son of a right? But they didn't play the Steelers that third time. They played the Raiders, and my Uncle Murf used to say, well, I guess they kicked in the wrong effing door. And so the Houston Oilers hated the Raiders, not only because of that, but because we whipped their ass in the 67 AFL Championship game. And because of everything that, as far as what Al represented to the AFL and the Houston Oilers and their history, and Bud Adams is an original AFL team. These two franchises butted heads a lot. So these old school Houston guys hate the freaking Raiders. So you wanted exactly what Steve said. One of the reasons that John McClain probably will never vote in Tom Flores, Jim Plunkett, Lester Hayes, Jack Tatum, you name it, that's why, because he hates the freaking Raiders. Well, that's BS, Mosh. That is absolute trash. And I know this firsthand because I would call in with like legitimate questions, like legitimate NFL questions.
Never answer him, would he?
And he would never freaking answer them. All he would say is, as long as Al Davis is the owner of the Oakland Raiders, then they'll continue to falter, and until he dies and ownership transfers to somebody else, they're all going to continue to be a joke. And that place should be called the Oakland Mausoleum because they'll never sell it out. But I would call him with like a for real, like, hey, what do you think about this guy in the draft? What do you think the Raiders should do? Well, until Al Davis dies, and they're just going to continue to stink.
Yep. And this is the same guy who fell asleep on the radio.
Did he really?
He fell asleep. There's a sound bite that they used to play that he fell asleep, and he's like, he's doing that rant, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear this.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, you can go on the local radio station that used to host. I think it was 104.5 The Zone.
Yeah.
And they would play that clip.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sure it's out there.
It's got
it. This is the same guy.
John McClain falling asleep on there. He's a joke.
Nuts.
He's a joke, Steve. I'm with you, dude. And look, the anti-Raider sentiment in the NFL to this day is real. And it started, and look, Al Davis, the Maverick right there, he started it, and look, man, it's just, I won't go into all the reasons. It's just real.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's go hear from our buddy James in Arkansas. First off, James in Arkansas, you rock, dude. Keep calling.
Thanks, buddy.
Keep calling, man. We love to hear from you. For those of you that don't remember, James is was a first-time caller last week. This is his second call. James is a former member of our military, sustained an injury, and he's got a little bit of a speech impediment, and he was a little, he
was a little leery about calling in. But man, he did it, and his calls are great. And so support James, and as I'm sure you will in the chat and everywhere else, and continue to call in James to Raiders Fan Radio. Let's hear from him.
Hey guys, James in Arkansas. Thank you for the love. Thank you for doing that. Everybody is trying to grasp, trying to think where next year home games. I'm thinking Britain, and I'm seeing the stats of Carr, and 4,000 yards. He didn't have no one, and I think everything will be good because next year will be rock solid. Just if Chucky will pick 2 or 3 defensive players, linebackers or, but I'm really excited about next year because that's just everything will work out because it's looking like powerhouse. Thank you for everything. Go Raiders.
All right, right on, James. Appreciate the phone call, my friend. And I'm with you, man. I think we got a lot to look forward to this year, Mosh. You know, I don't think we're gonna well, I say I don't think we're gonna win the Super Bowl. I think we're gonna win the Super Bowl every year, but I think we're certainly gonna return to respectability, Mosh. Don't you think?
It doesn't matter where we play.
And it
doesn't matter where we play.
Doesn't matter where we play. That's right. All right, James, keep them coming, my friend. Hey, one more, and you will be a made man here on Raiders Fan Radio. So I'm going to get that soundbite queued up and ready for you for next week. So definitely give us another call. All right, Mosh, I love this call. This next call, I love this. This is our buddy Raider Beto, and he's from Los Angeles, and he kind of takes note that I called out the fact that we have a rivalry with Los Angeles, us Bay Area guys.
Okay, sure.
You know what I mean? And he kind of gives it back to us a little bit, and I like it because it should be. Yeah, we're all one family in terms of the Raiders, but every other sport, nah, bro.
Raider Beto, you know the city. Anyway, I just got finished watching the Super Bowl. Man, I'm so happy the Rams lost, so they can't be like, oh, the Rams are the LA Super Bowl team champions and whatever crap those Rams bandwagon fans said. But the bad thing is the Patriots won again. In my whole lifetime, I've seen the Patriots go to the Super Bowl 9 times, and I've seen the Raiders go once. So, damn, another damn Patriots Super Bowl. But anyway, I believe the Raiders can do it. You know, let's go for a dynasty. You know what I'm saying? John Gruden dynasty. But who knows? You know. Well, I caught your last video on Raiders Fan Radio, how you guys, Murf, you said that the Bay hates LA. Well, the feeling's mutual. I hate the Bay as well, you know. Sacramento Queens, irrelevant team. Oakland A's, irrelevant. San Francisco Giants, I don't care if they won a dynasty, irrelevant to me. Golden State Warriors, ain't no dub nation, you know. Get more 10 rings and see you catch up to the Lakers, you know what I'm saying? Except the Raiders, you know, only a Bay Area team. Oh, Niners, F them. But yeah, you know, feelings mutual, you know, LA versus Bay rivalry. But anyway, Patriots won again. At least it wasn't the Chiefs or the Rams, you know. Anyway, you guys have a good one, and you already know, Raiders all day and LA all day for me. And the LA Raiders still remain the only team to win a Super Bowl for LA.
Great call.
I love it, man. That's awesome. That is so good. You know, and it's the truth, man. You know, it's that's what I like about the Raiders is that they really are the only team to unify California.
Absolutely.
They're the only team that can unify the entire state in fandom, because it doesn't matter what part of California you're from. You can certainly be a Raider fan. So that's pretty cool. And, you know, and I love how he kind of gave it back to us a little bit.
Sure he did. I love it.
It should be. And, you know, and you've told the story in the show before, but I want to ask you to tell it again because I love it. Just to give you an idea of how deep-seated these rivalries are, you know, growing up in the Bay Area, we hated the Dodgers. Now, look, I hated the Dodgers for a different reason than Mosh did, because 15-year-old Murf watched Kirk Gibson jack one over the fence off Dennis Eckersley and broke my dang heart in Game 1 of that World Series in '88. But you hated him because of Lasorda and going back to the old days against the Giants. And so you met Tommy Lasorda one time.
Yeah.
And tell Raider Nation what you told Tommy.
So Tommy Lasorda, the school I was coaching at had some outstanding ball players, and so I'm doing the play-by-play for baseball, and I'm up in the booth, and I'm doing all the play-by-play there, and I knew that Lasorda had actually come to watch 3 of our ball players, right? And he ended up doing a draft and follow for a couple of them. So I go down there, and they arranged it so I could meet Tommy, right? So I go down there, and Tommy had just done, he was right in the middle of his slim fast phase, right, where he lost all that weight, and I'm a big guy, and so I go down there, and there's all these people from the yearbook taking pictures of us and everything, and I'm shaking Mr. Lasorda's hand, and I go, you know, Mr. Lasorda, I got to tell you, I'm a Giants fan, bro, and I grew up my whole life. You know, the first time I ever went to a World Series was when, you know, y'all played the A's, and I said, I grew up hating you. And he looks at me, and he reaches over, and he pats my belly, and he goes, nah, that's okay, kid. I was an asshole once. And I I'm like, oh, thank you, man. Thank you, Tommy. Yeah. I didn't wash that shirt for years. Yeah, but and he was gracious, man. He gave me one of his. He's got these special baseballs that are like, I still have it to this day, that are colored, and it's Hall of Fame baseball, and it's got the year that he was inducted.
Did he sign a bobblehead for you,
He signed a bobblehead. He signed a bobblehead for me. And he was hilarious, man. He was a great guy. But he was Mr. LA, He was Mr. Dodgers. He was the only other manager other than Walter Alston, when he took over, because he was on the bases for all those years. And then Walter Alston, when he retired, Tommy Lasorda. So he was Mr. LA, but he was a super guy.
That's cool. That's cool. It's funny when those things happen, like when I met Steve Atwater a couple of weeks ago, it's like you hate these guys as players, or in this case, a manager with Lasorda. But when you meet them, it's like, I got nothing against him as a human being. You know what I mean? So you're kind to him. And I told Atwater the same thing. Like, he used to beat our ass all the time. I hated you as a player, but he was so nice. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It's funny how the dynamic, how that is when you meet these guys. You're like, okay.
Well, it's like that Foo story. When Foo tells the story about taking
Franco to the black hole,
and Franco wanted to go.
Yeah,
Franco says, I'll bring you to the Pittsburgh version of their their fan base. And they gave Foo all kinds of crap, and Franco egged them on, but to turn around, and Foo takes Franco into the black hole, and it was juicing the fans, give it to him,
give it to him. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's cool stuff, man. That's the fun. That's the really, really fun aspect of sports, man. Is the rivalry. So, anyways, Raider Beto, go A's. So speaking of rivalries, let's hear from our buddy. He's not a rival in terms of the fan he roots for, but he lives in donkey country. Let's hear from our buddy Mike in Colorado.
Murf, Uncle Mosh, this is your sizzling, made man, hardcore Raider calling out of Colorado. Just wanted to thank you guys for the shout out last week, and just for putting out great content. The Super Bowl stuff you guys put out was amazing, so appreciate you guys and all your hard work. Can tell you guys put a lot of work into that. Also, looks like Brady got another ring. I guess what else is new? Good news is, though, at least he said he's not going to retire yet, so looks like Gruden might have his redemption game, hopefully, in the next couple of years. If he lasts that long, maybe we can make something happen in the playoffs and get our redemption game. I'd really, really would love that. That would, make the last 15-plus years a little more worthwhile. But wanted to give a shout out to James, man, fellow Army veteran. Thank you for your service, but more importantly, thank you for the sacrifice you've given, the blood, sweat, and tears, putting your life on the line, and dedication and love to Raider Nation and holding up the good fight, man, sticking up for the team, man. I love to hear that. Also wanted to ask you, Murf and Mosh, if you guys would be kind enough. I did a podcast with Grimy Nation YouTube channel, and just trying to get Raider Nation fired up. So me and him had a pretty good long discussion. He talks about the Flores stuff, like you guys were, about him getting missed out of the Hall of Fame, and but after that, about the 21-minute mark, we get real deep into some hardcore Raider talk. And if you could maybe put this on the air, maybe people can check it out. Grimy Nation YouTube channel, and we give a big shout out to Murf Fan Cave at the end there. So trying to send love back your way, and to all Raider Nation. It's GRIMEY Nation podcast YouTube channel. So appreciate you guys, man. Raider Nation for life. Love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. Bye.
All right, good job, Mike. So yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we don't just say it, we mean it. A rising tide raises all pirate ships. So go check out its Grimy Nation YouTube channel, Mosh. I know you were looking at it.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely go out there and check out. Mike is a great Raider fan, man, and he's got some fantastic stories. He was the one that we interviewed, being at the Coliseum for the final game against the Broncos, and so Mike is an awesome representative of Raider Nation, and so definitely support him and that Grimy Nation podcast. Go check that one out for sure. So thank you again for the call, and All right, Mosh, next up we got our buddy Red in another rival city. He's or rival state in Washington, where formerly the Seattle Seahawks used to be in our division. So I guess they're not really the rival anymore.
We still don't like them.
We still don't like them, but yeah. So here you go. Here's Red in Yakima.
Yo, what's going on, fellas? Red up here in Yakima. Touch base with you guys again. Getting ready for the offseason and the draft. We got them 3 picks in the first round. Now that we got Mayock as pretty much the lead talent evaluator and lead, anyways, brain fart right there, guys. But if we wanted to move up in the draft, we could. We got them 3 picks. If we kept the 4th pick and used the 24th and 27th or whatever it is to move up, and I think if hopefully Mike Mayock can help us evaluate a safety now, we can draft a safety that'll actually be able to make.
Uh-oh. Well,
shoot. All right. Well,
I guess Google didn't get him. Yeah.
I don't know.
It must have been the cold.
Yeah, I'm blaming the cold. Sorry about that, Red.
Hey, at least we're not buffering for the guys watching on YouTube.
Right? Yeah. So sorry about that, Red. But I think what he's getting at there is about Mike Mayock moving around, and yeah, that based on that article that we read from Matt Schneidman there,
right?
That he called him Vegas Mike, and there's definitely a lot of options there for Mike Mayock in the draft. And this is going to be an interesting one because I think he's got a lot riding on this first draft. Of course, we don't know what the draft is going to pan out like until we get to the end of it, until we get to the end of that, 3 years from now. But until then, though, but I think it's a very important draft for Mayock in his early legacy here with the Raiders. All right, appreciate the phone call. And next up, let's go hear from our buddy B-Dog. And you know where he's at, Mosh?
He's in a pasture in Texas.
What's up, guys? It's B-Dog howling from a pasture in Texas. Sorry, gotta be quiet right now. People are trying to sleep. Let's get right to the chase. The 2 biggest stories in the nation right now are where the Raiders going to play next year and why the hell isn't Tom Flores a Hall of Famer. First of all, this man, the things that he's accomplished in the National Football League is astonishing and should be more than enough to get him to the Hall of Fame. But I guess we should be used to getting overlooked by now. There's dozens of Hall of Famers, or there's dozens of former players for the silver and black that should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the amount of Raiders legends not in the Hall of Fame is just disrespectful. It's honestly gotten to the point where I'm thinking the league has something against us. I feel like I should be surprised by that statement, but I'm not. You either love us or you hate us, and the Hall of Fame committee hates us. So, anyway, moving on. As far as I know, the supposed deal the Raiders ownership made to play in Giants Stadium is far from being a done deal. And if reports are true, the mayor of San Francisco doesn't want us there, then I don't want to be there either. I don't want to share a city with a team nicknamed the 49ers because they can never make it to the 50-yard line. Anyway, I had a thought. Why couldn't we play in the Las Vegas Rebel Stadium? I mean, we're going to be in Vegas in 2020, so why not move there now? I don't know, just a thought. In my opinion, this whole dilemma on where we're going to play next year is crazy. It's gotten to the point where anything can happen and will happen. Well, I'm going to bed. Catch y'all later.
Oh my God, that kid kills me.
He's funny, man.
He kills
I've
me.
I've heard a lot of Niner jokes in my life. I never heard that one. It's because they can't get to the 50.
That's the first time ever. They're called the 49ers because they can't make it to the 50. Call your brother right now. Get him on the phone live.
Oh, I'm going to send him that one, man.
Oh, my gosh. So, all right. So, it's time. It's time.
Sizzler. Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler. All right, so we started our evening. We had a flashback to Super Bowl 15, and then a flashback to Super Bowl 18. So we learned a lot. We got, and we love our Houston Raiders Steve, man. He's always killing us with all this great stuff, man. He's always dead on, and he threw in the word cojones, So. It was great.
Anytime you can mix in cojones or huevos,
man,
do it. You got to do it. Yeah.
And then, of course, we heard James, his second call, and, talked about staying positive, man, and it's okay if we go to England. And then, God, you got to love Beto. You know, coming in there, man, and he definitely repping L.A. You know, of course, Murph's. You know, it's okay, Murph, because you're sitting there and you're holding up your A's bobblehead. But Beto didn't say anything about the Angels. It was all about the Dodgers, and then of course, you know, Mike gave us a plug, another podcast to listen to, Grimy Nation. Yeah. Good folks over there, and I love Red from Yakima with his brain fart. You know, it was he admitted to have a brain fart, and then you know we lost him, so we don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened.
but I gotta go. I think it's the second time he's got the Sizzler.
Uh-oh.
Yep, it's got to go with B-Dog.
Sizzler. Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler. Sizzler.
Sizzler. And the reason I got to go with B-Dog on that is because what people don't understand, B-Dog's a young man, you know, and I love the fact that he's got such great insight for a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and he's done his research, and he goes back to the old a lot of stuff that we have talked about, that the world is against us because we're Raiders fans and everything. But the fact that it's past his bedtime and that he's under his blanket on the landline with the flashlight, and he's calling us, and he goes, "I gotta be quiet. And I'm supposed to be in bed. I got a big test tomorrow morning." And
that's amazing.
And then he hits that absolutely fantastic line. They're the 49ers because they can't get it to the 50. This guy might be my replacement on my next. You know.
Hey, B-Dog, what are you doing for spring break?
Holy mackerel.
Yeah,
good job, B-Dog. And thanks for being such a good sport. I know we pick on you, but man, oh, man, you kill it sometimes, and you make me laugh all the time.
Oh, great job. Great calls. Great job on the Sizzler. Great job, Uncle Mosh. And I appreciate everybody that joined us this week in the Sea of Fans mailbag.
We are Metallica, and we are here for your Oakland Raiders!
You know why we out here, and we ain't playing around today.
From The Walking Dead to errant Jedi Knights, Raiders fans are a rogues gallery.
So the questions come up a couple times, Murph.
Okay, hit the chat, Mosh.
On the chat.
Read them all.
Oh, my gosh, and they're going, "Hey, are you guys coming to Vegas for the 2020 draft?" Any chance we get to come to Vegas? Oh, yeah. Q-Dog responds, yes, they'll be in Vegas by choice or by kidnapping. Well, let me tell you, buddy, if Southwest would let me make my reservations now for 14 months away, I might do it.
Heck yeah,
yeah, man.
Absolutely.
We're there.
Would love to go.
We're there. I got comps at multiple casinos.
You're all about the comps.
Yeah.
Uncle Mosh is a bit of a casino sports participant.
Well,
no,
you
what
know,
do you call it? Can you be a casino sport athlete?
I'm a casino sports activist.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
I love, I used to put people say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, I like to hunt and I like to fish and I coach a lot of sports and I play sports. Now it's like, okay, I hunt and I gamble and I eat donuts.
And you're all about the donuts, absolutely. All right, so thank you again to all of you in the way that you participate in Raiders Fan Radio and support our show, and none better than in the chat every week. And so thank you to Aaron the Q-Dog Raider, Chris Potts, James M., Joseph Morales, Dirty 30, Eye Patch. I can't scroll up, but I see Ashton is in there, Hardcore Raider. And so appreciate everybody every week that joins us live here for Raiders Fan Radio. All right, Uncle Mosh, to close out the show this week, I got one more thing for you, and one of our newest segments is the Raiders in Pop Culture segment, and we were sent a clip this week. This was a few weeks ago, but I've had so many that it's taken us a little bit to get to it, and I'm referring to clips that were feature former or current Raiders players in some form of pop culture. So that could be a television commercial or a movie or a song or whatever that may be. We've heard Matuzak do stand-up. We've had a lot of different things. Just Win Johnny, our buddy, sent this a while ago, again, a few weeks ago, and this was a Malcolm in the Middle episode, which is an old Fox sitcom, a Malcolm in the Middle episode featuring Howie Long and Terry Bradshaw. And I believe the setup is this, that they're both opposing coaches of youth hockey teams. So you're going to hear Howie in here. You're going to hear a lot of Terry Bradshaw, but you're going to hear Howie as well. Let's go ahead and check that clip out.
Hey, Coach, there's Lavernia. I hear she might actually have a team this year. I think we ought to adjust the front line. Clarence.
What? Oh, hey, Lavernia! I was afraid you'd show your face. Not that I was afraid you'd play me, just that you'd show your face.
Hello, Clarence. I thought you only gave your pep talks in your van.
You get a boyfriend one of these days, you'll have that moment of bliss, and then you'll bite his head off and lay your rotten eggs down his decapitated body.
Oh, was that comment necessary? That's exactly why people don't like you. People like me.
All right, there's Howie and Terry on Malcolm in the Middle. Of course, they're on Malcolm in the Middle, which was a Fox show, because they do the Fox pregame show.
Sure.
All right, so that was pretty good. And then knowing and watching just enough, knowing the rapport that these two guys have with one another, I love it. I think it's great. I know you like Bradshaw. Another guy. Hated him as a player, but if I saw him in real life, I'd shake his hand because he's funny.
Absolutely.
He's absolutely funny. So one of my favorite things that they did recently was Howie and Terry. Rob Riggle, I'm bouncing around a little bit, I know. Rob Riggle does this prediction segment on each show, and he'll do like skits, like comedy skits. And so one of them that he did recently was people impersonating Terry Bradshaw. Well, one of the people impersonating Terry was, of course, Howie. And so this is really, really funny. So here's Howie Long impersonating Terry Bradshaw, and listen to the way it ends, man. It's absolutely fantastic.
Terry will be played by my favorite movie actor.
I'm Terry Bradshaw. 4 rings. 4. Bald is beautiful. I can't find my keys. It's the playoffs. I'm looking to lose a few pounds. I'm on the paleo carbo diet. I'm down a few. Oh, my shingles. Whoops. I think I pooped.
Isn't that the best? Listen to that again.
Oh, my shingles. Whoops. I think I pooped. I think I pooped. I think I pooped.
Oh, man. Oh, that's so funny.
It cracks me up, man. I think I pooped.
So funny.
Anyways, good job, Howie Long, man.
My.
Howie Long, man. He's look, we often do the question about the Mount Rushmore of Raiders, and as far as ambassadors to Raider Nation, ambassadors to the Raiders that are currently out front and in the public eye on the regular. I mean, it's him and Woodson to me. Like because Madden's pretty much in retirement for all intents and purposes, and of course we lost Al a while ago, and I think that to me it's Howie and Charles Woodson. So anyways, great stuff there. All right, Uncle Mosh, that's all we got for this episode of Raiders Fan Radio. You got anything before we get out of here?
Well, you and I, when we were watching the Super Bowl last week, it didn't start out really good. We were like, okay, so I started making a list of things that had to do with the Raiders.
Oh, right. Okay.
That had to do with the Raiders
right.
during the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And since you're talking about Howie,
yeah,
Chris Long, Howie's kid,
there we go,
won the Walter Payton Award.
Very cool.
So that's a Raider connection to last week's Super Bowl. And, of course, America the Beautiful, the first song that was sung, but was sung first at a Super Bowl, at our Super Bowl in 77.
That's exactly right.
And then I started eating chips, and that's all I got.
Well, here you go. I'll tell you what. I'll give a third one for you then.
Okay.
During that segment, when Chris Long won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, the only person not wearing a suit amongst the candidates.
Yeah. Marshawn Lynch.
Man, that was awesome. Mikey and I were talking about that on Mondays with Mikey Murf this past Monday. We did a kind of post-Super Bowl special, and he took umbrage with the idea that Marshawn didn't. I didn't at all. And the reason why is that part of our Super Bowl show that we did on Sunday, we talked about how Madden and really the rest of the Raiders, but Madden was the one that set the tone. They didn't care about optics. They didn't care about what things look like. They care about scoring points and winning football games and ultimately championships. That's all they cared about. They didn't care about what they looked like. And so that, to me, Marshawn is just carrying on that sentiment that started way back in the 70s and it just is still going on to this day. So I think Marshawn was awesome. And you just do you, Marshawn. You don't.
That's right.
You don't need to be worried.
That's right. Well, listen, thanks to everybody for coming in tonight. Thanks Q-Dog, our capo, Ron, our Mater Raider, and 24-Karat Kev, the cool-ass Raider fan. But thanks for listening tonight. For Murph, this is your old Uncle Mosh, and you've been listening to Raiders Fan Radio, where we take a lighter side journey into the dark side. And don't forget, what happens in Vegas started in Oakland.